you did a SWOT analysis, I think people would say, don't do cookies, find something else, right? But that's like anything.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 40 of Sales Stories in Real Life. I'm your host, Alex Bruschi, and this is the show where professional salespeople share stories about their memorable buying experiences. For episode 40, big episode, we've got none other than the cookie guy, the founder of Grove Cookie Company, Grayson Hogard. Grayson, welcome to the show, my man. It is such a blast and a pleasure to have you here. I have so many questions that I want to ask you, but first and foremost, the first question is that I hear you had a pretty interesting experience when you were shopping for a mortgage. What happened there?
Well, Alex, thanks for having me. The first house, my only house I've ever purchased. I was really gung-ho about buying it back in 2012. I had just gotten home from Afghanistan, and you get your VA loan after you do a deployment, and so I'm just excited to do it. Well, the first mortgage broker I was using or working with basically told me I didn't have enough credit to apply for a mortgage loan. And, a little disappointed in that. I actually had never had a credit card to that point. I don't know if it was the Dave Ramsey in me, but I don't know what it was, but I was like, credit cards, no, bad. And so, so he informed me of that, TransUnion, Equal, whatever the three big credit card agencies are. But anyways, wasn't showing any information on there. So I wasn't able to get a loan. Basically all of 2012, right around the November timeframe, that actually changed. And that was all because of a change in my mortgage advisor. So really fortunate with that. That quick change of a mortgage advisor opened the door to actually me getting approved for my line of credit. The guy I transferred over to, basically a different mortgage advisor, heard my story and he said, I got what you need, basically. And I had a meeting with him, and 3 days later I had a new line of credit for a mortgage. And so I was ready to rock and roll and begin looking for a house. So
That's wild, because you went through months of frustration, right? For not being able to take out a loan. You find somebody new, and quite literally 3 days later, you have yourself a loan. So why don't you kind of walk us through that there, right? Like, how did you find this next person, right? I imagine there's a lot of frustration there. What kind of brought you to that person to begin with?
Yeah. So, when the first mortgage advisor told me no, I just was like, oh gosh, okay. I immediately went out and got a small credit card and started, putting a few charges on it, paying it off, building up the credit, getting some sort of history. And after like 8-9 months, I was talking to my friend, and his dad was with them, and my buddy's dad overheard my conversation and was like, I got the guy for you. You need to go talk to Miles. And I was like, sure, let's do it. Obviously, I'm frustrated at that point. I'll do anything, because I really haven't voiced those frustrations with anyone other than my friends. And, we're all 21 at the time, so no one really knows anyone, right? And so had that meeting with Miles. Really didn't expect much of it, because I'm just under the assumption that A, I can't get a loan, and B, how is someone else going to be able to get me through, right? And I'm glad I took that meeting on, and Miles was, he got it done, obviously, and just a huge relief. It always hurts to get told no, but then also get told no and you have no way of like remedying the situation other than time. You're like, gosh, I want to buy a house, get out of my parents' basement. So
That's what I love about this. I mean, number one, first and foremost, referrals make the world go round. We have heard so many stories of people being passed along referrals. So ask for your referrals, damn it.
Yeah.
And secondly, what's so unique about this story that I really love is that it's not like, oh, this person was like so good at discovery, right? That they made me realize I wanted something that I didn't typically want, right? Or something. It was like truly like an industry expertise sale, right? Like I'm sure this original person really wanted to get you a loan, right? They're financially incentivized to do so.
Yeah.
So you had that referral come in, you find a real industry expert that kind of helps you to figure out that way to make it happen. What's that experience like, right? When you're going in there, you're expecting that no, you're probably almost 99% sure expecting that no, right? You've been at this
Yeah.
for a few months, shopping it around, and then 3 days later, you have a loan, right? Obviously, I'm sure Miles is the first person that you tell anybody else whenever they're shopping for a mortgage, but like take us into that buyer experience, right? Like you're expecting a certain result and it ends up being way better than what you expected. What's that like?
Well, I mean, especially like that sort of delay. Um, and you obviously want to get out of your parents' basement as much as possible. Um, the buying experience is just like you just have like a lot of weight lifted off your shoulders because it wasn't like I stopped looking at Zillow at the time and checking all the new houses and looking like, why can't I get this right now? And the expectations of like not of thinking I wasn't going to get approved because I just didn't believe that someone else could like really, like you said, the expertise. I just didn't think that was possible. Again, I'm 21, really don't understand a lot of these things, and gosh, it was really relieving for sure. I think about it, just think about it right now. It's like, I think I called my mom, like the first person I called. I'm like, oh my God, approved. Oh my gosh. Like you're just like so excited, just through that short, like 9-month buyer experience. So
Well, there's something to that too, right? Kind of like under promising and over delivering, right? Where you're genuinely giving your buyers that sense of delight, right? Like that sense
yeah,
of unexpected goodness. So I really, really love that. I could continue digging in on this deeper, Grayson, but I know that the people want to hear about you and the Grove Cookie founding story because if you haven't heard of Grove Cookie Company by now, you must be living under some kind of a rock. But you guys have taken LinkedIn like a hurricane, right? I mean, it is unlike anything I've ever seen. So why don't you walk us through how you guys got started, right? Because you and Marie both have corporate jobs, right? Like it's not like
yeah,
you decided to go in on a full-time business and sell cookies. And quite obviously, cookies is kind of something that anyone could do, right? Like if you told someone, hey, I'm going to start a cookie company, right? Or you go for look for investors, they're going to say, oh, well, there's all these big players, right? Blah, blah, blah. Don't do it. And you guys have gone out and done it anyway and succeeded in a big way. So why don't you walk us through how that came to be?
yeah. Well, first and foremost, we couldn't do this without the community. So all those people hearing us through LinkedIn, I mean, like that's not me blabbing. That that's the entire LinkedIn community championing our cookies, right? So that's huge. Yeah, you mentioned, if you did a SWOT analysis, I think people would say, don't do cookies, find something else, right? But that's like anything in life. So yeah, so really Grove Cookie Company was founded on the idea of becoming Instagram famous. Like we really thought like we're going to post photos of cookies on Instagram and people are going to come to our townhouse and buy them. And, in 2021 of January, we found out that's not possible. But we were quickly introduced to the world of B2B gifting. And that's where we found this kind of like cookie company from home, being able to ship them nationwide, really grabbed a hold, and we started seeing kind of that initial traction, especially over the first 6 months, because we actually got our first client within the first 2 weeks of launching our cookie company. So yeah, that's that's the start of it, really, January of 2021. So.
And we're recording this in May of 2023, and you guys have come a heck of a long way in what, two and a quarter years, whatever it is. And you said something right away, obviously, that stands out as you talk about community, right? But like, community is kind of becoming one of those buzzwords, right? Like, I'm sure that anybody would love to have a community behind them, like you guys, like raving fans, right? That will promote you, that will, make referrals for you and do all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot more to it than just posting pictures of cookies, right? And like sending people cookies, right? So how would you kind of attribute that, like, that raving fan that you've created, right? Like where does that come from, and how did you guys land on that?
Well, that is an extremely hard question because I don't know. Like I don't know if it's just like exercising goodwill first, because we don't ask for anything when we send samples to people. We legit don't ask for posting, public promotion. Like really, anytime anyone asks for a sample, or if I send a sample to someone, I just love to hear personal in the LinkedIn DMs feedback. Like I just want to know if the cookies are broken or not. And I think exercising goodwill is a very, very strong tactic for, I didn't envision building a community. Like it just kind of happened. Like that's just instinctually, that's just how I thought would be like the best way of like getting our name out there. But the community, I guess byproduct, but it's obviously led the way, has been, it just happened. I don't know. I wish I could come up with some reason why cookies have compelled everyone to be just Grove cookie champions, but it's just worked out the way it has.
Well, you're a humble guy, and I appreciate that. But I think if I can maybe summarize what you're saying, kind of in short, is like it comes from a genuine place, right? Like you're not like doing this to like. But actually, let me rephrase. Like you're not sending people cookies of like, okay, now Alex is going to make a post for us, right? It's been 2 days. Why hasn't he made a post for us, right? Like you're just genuinely spreading joy with cookies, and kind of everything else is such a byproduct therefrom. And you actually did something the other day that I was blown away by. And it's a page pretty much straight out of the Lavender playbook. Speaking of companies that have kind of taken LinkedIn by storm, is that you're not just like posting pictures of cookies and saying, oh, these cookies are delicious, order them, right? Like you're teaching people how to give cookies and progress their deals, right? Like you have genuinely turned cookie gifting into a B2B play, into CAS, if you could show us the shirt. So you are teaching people, right, how to progress their deals in their deal cycle by using cookies, right? You made a post the other day and it was something like, hey, here's an icebreaker, right? You don't want to just say, hey, do you want cookies to sign my contract, right? I think you said something like, are you allergic to cookies, right? To kind of like make a little joke about it and then kind of progress from there. So like you're teaching people how to be awesome by using your product and service. And I think there's a lot to that. So what would you say on that? How does that come about? How are the reactions that you see? And how do you think that's attributed to everything you guys have accomplished?
Yeah, that whole kind of like template, that post actually stems really how my cold calls used to go, which was it'd always be in the morning because that was just kind of like the window, the block of time I kind of allotted. But it was right before lunch, and I always go, is it too early to talk about cookies? Like, because I'm calling the front desk personnel at these wealth advisory firms, and they always pick up the phone, right? There's no time. They're not going to pick up the phone, even if they see me call 5 times. I think they just, that's just their job, right? So there's someone always stationed there. So that whole like icebreaker, are you allergic to cookies? Generally will get someone to kind of smile like, of course I'm not allergic to cookies. But, if they are allergic to, gluten or dairy products, they're gonna express that to you right off the bat. So there's almost like a, you can kind of weave your way around that kind of icebreaker. But if they love cookies, you drop your Sendoso link, your Zest link, whatever, whatever kind of gift link you have, drop it in the chat. There you go. They're going to accept the cookies, and now you're exercising reciprocity, the goodwill, all those things you need really to move a deal forward, move a conversation, which is really what you want. Conversation, sales professional, usually a well-qualified sales professional can get the ball rolling from there. So cookies are just a vehicle and they're delicious. So
cookies are just a vehicle and they're delicious. You gotta put that on the website or something. That is profound. I mean, seriously though, there's so much nuance to this, right? To your point, you guys started off and just thought, oh, we'll post pictures of cookies and people are going to be lining up at our townhome to buy them, right? But now you kind of found this niche lane of wealth advisors, right? And then that kind of led you to LinkedIn, right? And then that kind of led you to B2B. And then that kind of led you to B2B gifting, right? So it's you find these niches and you just kind of wiggle your way in there. And then you kind of find this whole world of opportunity. And now what started out as, hey, let's post pictures of cookies that are delicious, and they are delicious, mind you. Oreo is my favorite flavor, by the way, if you're listening. You're kind of weaving your way through, and you've started with, hey, let's post pictures of cookies, and people are going to want them, and people are going to come buy them, to you're teaching people how to progress their deals with cookies, right? You're teaching people how to be awesome at sales by using cookies as that vehicle. So, I mean, just the growth that you guys have seen over the past couple of years, I mean, you could just see it in the change of strategy. It's fantastic. I know you also told me a pretty funny story off camera too about how Marie landed the second big client for the company.
Yeah.
Maybe that would be a good story to share with the people too.
Yeah, so I kind of touched on, we were introduced to B2B pretty quickly when we launched in January of 2021. So we had one client for the first 5-6 months of the start of Grove Cookie Company. I was getting some feedback from friends you should call other wealth advisors, because that was our first client, was a wealth advisor, still our client 2 years and a quarter later. Yeah, they were just you should call other wealth advisors and figure out what they're doing for gifting. Because most of the time that's marketing touch points is kind of what wealth advisors do. And just so happened across the hallway was another wealth advisory firm. And it was too easy, too easy to go in there and just introduce myself, because we were hand delivering cookies to our first client, and they were shipping them out using the company FedEx account. And so I go in there the first day, brought them cookies, talked to the front desk gal, go home the next day, call, seeing if we're gonna get on their rotation. The third day, Marie had to go deliver cookies to our first client. I had assigned her just, hey, drop off another box of cookies just to see if we can get this thing moving forward. And it just so happened that the head honcho of that wealth advisory firm, the second one we were trying to close, happened to be at the front desk when Marie happened to be showing up with the cookies assigned to Sean. And Marie walks in there, I guess, and is there, and the head honcho is looking at her, and the front desk gal, and he's like, what are these for? And well, Marie goes, well, these are they're for Sean. My husband said that you guys were expecting some cookies. And well, I'm Sean. That was his response. And I didn't know I was getting cookies today, but thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, so later that afternoon, basically got the word that, hey, we want to roll with you guys for our client birthdays. And so they're our second longest client, and they've been working with us since July of 2021. So pretty cool.
Shout out to Marie. Yeah, that's awesome. And and I don't want to misquote this, so I'll say it and make sure that I'm saying it correctly. You call yourself the Chief Care Officer, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. And that, I think, is another part of the magic here, because I'll keep the reason quiet, but you did a huge solid for me just a few days ago, where it was a Saturday. I kind of last minute had this idea. Let me send out some cookies to some people who I really want to get in touch with, who I really want to make a good impression with. And I reached out to you and kind of said like, hey, it would be awesome if they could be there by possibly Monday, by Tuesday. He even had some ideas for you, right, of how we can kind of make the cookies special based on this specific company. They were cough, cough, purple sprinkles. And but your response just blew me away because you were setting up the baby's room that day, right? Like you had all this furniture to build, and you and I spoke on the phone, and I told you the idea, and you said, "Give me 20 minutes. Let me run it by the boss, Marie, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can." We typically don't reopen to Tuesday, right? Which would mean cookies would have gotten there by like Thursday, right? Instead of Monday or Tuesday. And like 10 minutes later, you called me back. And, well, excuse me, you sent me a selfie of you in the car driving to Grove Cookie Company office to make the cookies. And then, we spoke on the phone. You helped me write a personalized note. So you don't just say, I'm the chief care officer to like be facetious or kind of like cute about it. Like you actually genuinely in your heart of hearts, like want to see your community succeed. And I think there's a lot to that. What have you guys noticed when you took that really customer-centric approach, right, to moving these cookies? Did you notice a difference at that time, or what would you say on that?
Well, the reason why I did it for you is because you took initiative and posted about our cookies back in, that had to have been March. You and James Perry, and your video actually was in our company monthly meeting. So anyways, I felt like I was indebted because, you do that thing, but plus, it's always fun to go on special covert ops missions and make someone happy. But, I have a tendency not to want to let people down. And really what I was doing for that day couldn't have, it could be pushed off. And plus, to the thought of making, like a client or someone happy really kind of drives our entire company. I mean, we're a cookie company, for gosh sakes, like, putting smiles on people's faces is really priority number one. So that's how I took it. I did not ask my boss for permission. I told her after the fact, and that's okay. We made it work. I was nice to her that night and took her out to dinner, and we're still together. But and I don't know how to summarize it. That's just my personality. Relationships, joy, enthusiasm. I mean, literally, that's our company values. It was so easy writing those. That's just what we do.
That's the beautiful part about it, though, because when it's ingrained in who you are, it's not a tactic anymore, right? Like it's not, oh, we're doing X for Y, right? It's just we do X because we're X, right? It's so different. And I think that's really kind of what encapsulates the magic inside of your guys' cookies. So, man, the one question that I ask everyone that I'm excited to ask you, because yours is going to be very, very, very unique. We got a lot of B2B sellers that are listening to the show, Grayson. What would be your biggest takeaway that you would give to them? And it could be you can make a two-part. It could be one, a general B2B tip, and another one could be a cookie giving B2B tip, or you could take that question however you want.
Yeah. I think in B2B, we do a lot of cold everything, cold outreach, cold, calling, emailing, LinkedIn DMs. I mean, I feel that the power of reciprocity is a tool not harnessed enough. The whole give first mentality. I mean, it's hard, obviously. We're not all blessed to have expense cards and budgets to practice reciprocity, but reciprocity doesn't have to be monetary. That could be an introduction to someone, like you talked about referrals. I think that's like the key takeaway I have, and that's not even a cookie promotion there. That's just pure reciprocity in general, because really what Goodwill you put out generally comes back to you in one way or another. That's my belief. It's something that we could all practice more. Even I can do it more. So that's my one.
And you already do a damn good job of it. So let's stick an exclamation point on this thing, because obviously sending cookies to progress deals or sending cookies to make intros is not just like, hey, I really want to talk to this person, let me send them some cookies, right? Or like, hey, I really want this person to sign my contract, right? Let me send them some cookies and then they're going to sign it, right? No, it's not that easy. It's not quite that straightforward. What would you give as your kind of cookie giving 101, right? Like, when are good times in a deal cycle to give cookies? What's, I guess kind of some best practices around that to share with the audience?
I actually just got some feedback from one of our clients. He's an AE at a SaaS company, but he had 4 people accept his cookie, kind of just like they were mid-cycle, wanted to close them in Q1, and they were kind of pushing towards Q2 kind of deal. The 4 people that accepted the cookies closed in Q1. That I feel is like probably that best practice, that touch point in between like demo, stakeholder type deal. Like it's just a touch point. It's just like the wealth advisors use it as a touch point for birthdays, anniversaries in a sales cycle. That touch point of just letting the prospect know you're still there is kind of that key in a lot of like kind of like I wouldn't call it chasing, but it's a physical item, right? You send a gift card, an email, maybe not get seen, whereas a package shows up at your door. We all know there's 100% open rate. I'm just saying.
Say it. It's facts. I can confirm. I've sent out maybe 3 to 4 cookies now with you, and it is for certain a 100% open rate. But I love that, because again, I'll keep harping on this. Like, you're selling cookies, but what you're actually selling is a meaningful B2B touch point, right? Rather than getting an email, hey, just bubbling this to the top of your inbox, hey, just following up, right? Where's the deal at, right? How did the talk with your boss go? It's just inserting a touch point that makes them happy. And one thing that I will continue to harp on is that so much of modern day selling is being top of mind in a pleasant way, right? Not being that person that has 10 missed calls, right? Or being that person that's double, triple, quadruple emailing somebody, right? Just to get a response out of them. And you're really bringing that to light here with Grove Cookie Company. So I love it. I'm a huge raving fan. If you're listening and have not tried them yet, go for it. Try them yourself before you send them out to prospects, or just go ahead and send them out to prospects. But if you try them yourself, you'll be a believer too. Grayson, this has been fantastic. Obviously, you're working on a whole bunch, and we got to talk about Grove a whole bunch, but why don't you plug something here with the audience before we jump off?
You can find me on LinkedIn, Grayson Hogard. Running around the LinkedIn streets 24/7. So yeah, I'd love to connect. That's all. I don't have anything else.
Simple as that. Go find Grayson Hogard on LinkedIn. 100% open rate, cookies as a service, the cookie guy himself. Grayson, thanks so much for your time today. We really appreciate you. Can't wait to get my hands on some more cookies. Sales Stories in Real Life, fam. We'll see you next week. Cheers.